Self-discovery is our topic.
I feel like we're all silly today. Okay, I'm into it.
I think that's on brand for self-discovery.
Yes, I agree. Authenticity. Hello.
Raquel, the cattail in the back of the picture scared me for a second because I was like, oh, when did you get a tail?
I want a tail.
Raquel's a kitten today.
Why did my brain go there? Sorry.
Our quick tips, which I think everybody that is here today knows the deal. I want to move, so yeah. Who wants to go first?
Oh, I guess I will. Hello, everyone. This is Brian. Pronouns he, him, or they, them. Doesn't matter to me. And it's after 10 a.m. here, so I'm still enjoying my venti cup of coffee to get going today. And it's nice to be here after what appears to be another non-stop week of human depravity. And the only nice thing that happened is I saw Roarie in a movie this week. So, yeah, Chance has no empathy, no spoilers, and except I had to see it on Amazon Prime. So, and they renamed it to The American Psychopath. Great, they make it look out like to draw views. They make it look like a schlock horror flick, and it's like, ugh. Roarie would never lower themselves to be in a slasher flick, so why? But it was a great film. I liked it, but no spoilers. So.
Oh, thank you, because I haven't seen it. Now I want to go see.
Yeah.
You go next.
I can go. I'm Danielle. My pronouns are ever evolving, but I actually going through self-discovery. I'm going to start using my original pronouns that I came out with at 17, which are Z here. I came out that way and then switched to they, them when everyone else did, but never really liked it. And then have used hundreds of different pronouns just to come back and be like, no, I picked those when I was 17 because I like them. I think that's what I like. So here I am, back to Z here. I am feeling amazing in that pressure from below and pressure from above, when it squeezes you thin and you're like, this is it because this is all that's left. So this must be who I am. And that is kind of great. And my movement, is my favorite, Kermit the Frog arms. He's like, ah!
Love it.
All right, I can go next. My name is Doug. Pronouns are he, him, and I'm feeling pretty good. Battling with some high blood pressure issues that hopefully it's starting to tamp down a little bit. But and then some movement. I'm gonna do a stretch. There we go.
I'm unmuted, I think. Yeah. Hey, I'm Raquel. My pronouns are she, they. I'm feeling in between tired and good. I don't know. It's been already a long day. But it's daylight over here. Yay! Finally catching with daylight over here. You guys always like seeing night over here, so still daylight. And my movement, well, yeah, stretch it up, slow it down, because, yeah, it's been a long day already.
Hey, I'm gonna do a pronoun that's also my name. Hey, I'm Rory, and pronouns are they, them. And my feeling is excitement because it's a smaller group. I'm very excited to like delve in and go in depth. I want to do a movement. I'm feeling so goofy and full of laughter, and this feels like lightness to me. So I want floaty fingers.
I guess I'll go next. I'm Bunny. My pronouns are they, them. I'm feeling excited and happy. Also feeling silly. I think our silliness is like permeating the space today. And I'm going to do my favorite movement. I'm going to hug myself. I think we all need hugs all the time, in my opinion. Or me personally, always need hugs anyway.
Hi, I'm still Lior, even though I have a different haircut now.
Love it.
Still them. I feel like light as a feather, honestly, and I just sort of like feel like really floaty. So like floaty arms is my movement today.
So I don't have a plan for our movement practice today, but since some of us are feeling silly and some of us are like just waking up and some of us it's like the end of the day, let's do like some just kind of gentle things maybe like I personally, I'm gonna take my glasses off because they're gonna be in the way. I like to just rub my face and my head and just like give myself some loving touch, like wherever it feels good. Maybe like massage your jaw or like maybe under your eyes where your nasal cavity is, maybe a little bit on your temples, whatever feels good to your body today. I see Rory doing some neck rolls. That would also feel really good. And with my shaved head, I just really love rubbing my head because to me that just feels super good. My mom and I have done what we call hearts and hearts and hearts. I think I did this last event? Where we just like draw the shape of a heart on your face or maybe on your chest or maybe on like your whole like body, like around yourself. Whatever like heart shapes feel good. So you can like bring that like all into your aura and your space around you. Bringing some love into our space with these heart shapes. I'm gonna do a couple of side stretches too because I feel a little tight, but just whatever feels good to your body today. I'm gonna shake it out. Thank you for moving with me. If y'all would like more movement, feel free to continue. Like, take care of your body, whatever feels good. We are probably going to continue on, but if you need more movement, feel free to bring that to the space. We want all of you here, which includes your movements, your sounds, your silliness. So most of you have already been, actually all of you have been here before, so you know that this is an uncensored art space and all bodies and body parts have potential to be present. So if there's any discomfort that comes up, we invite you to sit with it and tend to yourself, whatever you need, maybe turning off your camera, focusing on your breath, taking a little break, whatever you need to take care of yourself. I'm gonna drink some water. So excited to get to the work that y'all submitted. Raquel, just to let you know, I put your images on their own slides. So if you want me to move back and forth between them, just let me know. So I have, they're on their own slides.
The colors in this are incredible.
Yes.
So, this photo is about to do a year in June. Yeah, in June. This was taken one day after I cut my hair at home and had the most fun and blast doing it. It was like an hour. I had my hair like passing the butt already, so it took a while. But yeah, I had immensely fun. I regret not actually making a video at the time just to see my expression, but it was really good. Never felt so light, like Lior said before. I was really feather because I really have a very, very heavy type of hair. So yeah, and it also was when I finally started to see myself as me and not as what others wanted me to be, basically. Just a couple months later was actually when I adopted the pronouns they also, since I started to dig in on gender fluidity and digging back, and like it was always there. But yeah, right now I'm like, I don't care with hair or not. If I want to grow it up, if I want to cut it up, it's just fine anyway. So, and also it led to the other works where money, please, you can. Here and on the other also, it was I made like a marriage of myself with myself. I married with myself. That basically I wear my father clothes over here. Thankfully, both clothes actually fit me because I actually gained some weight, but thankfully my dad's suit still fit me. And so I basically portrayed myself as the male side and as the female side, and just in the same way without any makeup. Well, makeup I put for the bride actually, just, but I was always with a veil, so whatever. But yeah, it was everything like suit on, make what I wanted to do with the male side. I actually inspired myself on their wedding album with the poses and stuff. So I tried to mimic some poses like my dad and other as my mom, kind of just to have the feeling of it. Was actually the first time that I put her wedding dress as well. The suit of my dad I actually already put years before on a carnival kind of festival. I used this suit. Almost got killed by it, but worth it. Because he was like, you are wearing my wedding suit for carnival, but was totally worth it with some Texan boots that he had. But yeah, I mean, we spent 24/7 with ourselves. So I was like, who else do we actually, with the concept of marriage, would be if not with ourselves? And so I kind of wanted to make a mix of it, also as the fluidity of myself, but also on that concept of like individual and not like two people need to know. Ourselves as individuals already have kind of a marriage concept, so to say, with ourselves. So, and I think it needs to be like first put on, and then we can actually dig in who actually feels that way, because me and marriage, it's it's not something I even want to, but I wanted to do this with myself. So yeah. And I don't want to take like too much time, even if we are just a few, but yeah.
I love that the space that you chose to shoot them, the images of marrying yourself, have all of these great props in them that really like pull everything together, like the chest that we're looking at. I think that's really beautiful,
Well,
and I
it's
love that.
my parents' room, actually. This is very typical from grandparents' time I don't know how to nightstands and stuff.
Mhm.
And bed is very vintage, kind of like, because it is typical Portuguese from like days who wants. And if you go to like grandparents' house or anything,
Yeah.
we have this basically
These
going on.
antiques.
My parents still have it, so
Yeah. Well, it's because you're saying like the outfits are your parents and these are antiques from your grandparents. I think it's really cool that not only you yourself and your discovery of gender and yourself is also filtered through the lens of family and history and ancestry. Like the way that I formulate how I see the world are the first relationships I have, which are with my parents. And so when I see you inhabiting your parents' suits and outfits while also discovering gender, that's what it makes me think of. So I relate to this, and that's how I perceive it. I think it's really cool.
I was going to say one thing I love about it, especially the second picture with the sepia tone. It looks like it was taken decades ago, like late 19th century, early
yeah,
20th
that was
century.
intense.
So that's the effect that I'm getting from this. I really like that.
They were took black and white, simple, but then I basically just was playing around with the contrast and stuff to get this basically.
I really like the shadow in this image. I love the ancestry and everything like this, but also to see you in the corner and then see two shadows off of you, just bring me, further down your family tree.
Yeah, that's brilliant. This is brilliant composition for all these photos. Amazing.
Yeah, there's such depth. Like it really just sort of like pulls you toward that corner with this sense of power. Like I love how even though you were working within some traditional frameworks, like the clothing and the poses that you're mirroring from that lineage and the ancestry that you have access to, there's like an actual embodiment of like the masculine self and the feminine self. And I love the idea of sort of like you took it into yourself, and I can really see it. It's like not skin deep. It's not the clothes. It's the person who's shape shifting into these. And I think that really comes through like super clearly.
Yeah.
I also have a question about the gold portrait where there's gold here and then around your neck. Were these just elements that you found and were like, yeah, I want to put these together? Or did you have an inspiration or idea behind that?
Well, unlike the other ones that I was actually already fermentating for like a couple months with the idea, this one was more spontaneous, yes, because it was me just aftermath of all the weight and all of it. I wanted something just like to pop up and to like so that people just like forget about the fact that I cut my hair. So, but this is still here. This is still me. So, and yes, I went for the golden, and I never usually go for golden, but I went for this colors actually also to brighten up more and just make my how the word Jesus the affirmation of like it take a statement of like I'm here, that's me, so
The gold
and I don't say anything.
the gold really highlights your eyes. Man, did they make those eyes stand out.
Yeah, big time.
I think it's really cool that the lines here almost connect to the lines coming off your shoulder. And for me, like how the sunflower has this really dark round circular and then the gold accentuates around it. That's kind of what I'm envisioning here, is that the idea is, you know, there's no hair and then the gold accentuates that statement.
Yeah.
Totally.
I'm very difficult to hear like critics, and especially the good ones. I'm like, okay, thank you. I'm working on it, but I'm really grateful. Thank you.
Looking at this gold picture now, I just can like feel the bride and groom waiting to come down and being married by you here in the gold. And
there's 2 rings around the neck. That's like two rings around the fingers, you know?
Wow.
Oh, 100%. I actually thought this was all part of the same concept. Like, it's so wild to me. You could present them that way, and I would 100% believe it, because, like Danielle and Douglas both mentioned, there's sort of like these mirrors to those other 2 pieces. And I love that you chose to couple them together because they really inform each other. Like, I feel that the being in this is just sort of like, I am as much of just a creature as this flower. Like, stop projecting onto me what, you know what I mean? I sort of see like the gold as sort of like, that's the charm of social acceptance and what it costs, and sort of like the pain of having to earn that through performative masculinity, femininity, whatever it is. It sort of feels like this universal statement that's like, if you look at nature, you will find me. You're not, if you haven't seen me yet, you're not looking. Like, because those eyes, oh my God, like, oh my, Doug, I couldn't have said it better. Like, they look like sunflowers. The way that the color is, that green halo around the outside of the iris and the yellow in the center, like, amazing.
Yeah, well, they were actually months apart. But I have that happening sometimes, and I have that happening sometimes with a lot of work, and I suppose a lot of us, that it's all an evolution connecting towards, and so it happens a lot, and I sometimes don't get aware if not someone else doesn't say it, but it happens a lot of also with other works and art and stuff. It's all connecting in a way. It's all history basically going on. So yeah, now that you tell me in that way, I'm like, psh, psh, all shattering. Like, yep, feeling like some weird Black Mirror episode going on.
I love that both Lior and myself picked up on what you said here. It's all history. Like, it's all a documentation of the journey, the process, existence as an artist. Like, who you are touches upon everything if you're creating intentionally or from that like emotional, vulnerable place. Like, the way that you just said that so clearly, is all history. Like, save that.
Okay, thank you guys, and I'm not taking more time. I don't.
What else have we got? I'm so excited to see.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing with us, Raquel.
Yeah, that was super special. What a good combination. Doug, you're next.
All right. Well, this photo was taken during the same time that the photos I shared last month that weren't in the presentation, but were in the aftercare thing. It's basically a photo shoot that Lior and I did in February of 2019, right? That in Michigan, and it was outside. This is the one that's inside of a hoop house where it was a little bit warmer, but there was several inches of snow outside, and you know, the self-discovery aspect of this image and comes from both the photo shoot and the book that's being held. First of all, you know, I was kind of getting interested in photography and experiencing that. And I wanted to, before I started taking photos of anybody else and asking anybody else to pose completely exposed in the elements, I wanted to do it for myself. And I wanted it to be done with somebody that I truly knew and trusted. and who was also doing a masculinity project at the time. So, it was a dream to work with Lior. They were completely professional and fantastic, and it was something that I learned a lot from the process of doing. But, leading up to the photo shoot, I spent a couple of months basically like wearing minimal like jackets, like just t-shirts and hoodies out in the winter, just to start getting myself acclimated to, well, I'm going to be cold for a significant period of time. And so I started doing that, and then I'd walk the dog wearing a t-shirt or in sweatpants or something. So I started getting used to that, and I have a little bit of buildup of padding and insulation, as you can see, but that's part of my insecurities that I wanted to kind of just put out there. And the other thing about the photo shoot was that when I agreed to be shot by Lior, I asked to be anonymous. And in some ways, when I put the book in my hands and hold it out there like that, I'm kind of taking the anonymity out of the whole thing. But, the book itself is also a whole journey of self-discovery that I went through in writing that book, in taking on a feminine perspective of Seldy, the main female character, and kind of trying to inhabit her experience. And then also a male hero who is not your typical male hero, who is not a warrior. He's not, which is what I grew up when I was reading fantasy. There were swords and slashing and fighting battles, great big battles, wading through enemies, that sort of stuff. And I wanted to write a fantasy novel that didn't glorify violence, that didn't take the hero and say, yeah, you're a hero because you can defeat 20 people all at once with your sword and decapitate people, that sort of thing. I wanted a hero who would think through things, and then I wanted a heroine who was fierce on her own and could defend herself and rescue the hero when need be. And so, it was kind of taking on my childhood of fantasy and turning it on its head and looking at, and then just kind of laying, because I go dig so deep into their minds for both characters. And so, holding the book, sitting there in a friend's property and being photographed by a dear friend, and who was also a professional photographer and model. And it was something that just was it helped teach me basically what it was that I'd be asking others to do. And I would, in the most challenging circumstances I could find, so that, and the thing is I would never ask somebody now to go pose in that kind of conditions, unless they really wanted to. If they were interested in doing so, I'd do it. But I wouldn't say, hey, I want you to go out in 10 degrees below and with ice and snow and lay in it, completely naked. But so that's this image and how it represents self-discovery for me.
Thank you for sharing that. I love that you're holding your book, and I also love that you curated 2 experiences where you could empathize or understand or see something outside of your own experience. Like when I was hearing about the story where you're writing characters that are not your experience, you had to think about things that you may not have had to think about previous to that experience, in the same way that in this experience of you in the photograph, you've never had to think about being outside in the cold nude in this way. And so you curated an experience to see what that was like. And that's really impactful.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I really like the shovel in the background and just hearing how much work and uncovering that was done. I just love that your background is in process. It's working and has a tool.
Thank you.
Doug, I can't wait actually to read the books. I still haven't yet touched them because it was a harsh week, but you can say they are in Portuguese land finally, and I'm like, yes, for the books. But and knowing all of this, I will even like go into it with other mind already, and seeing this, you're exposing like yourself, your work, your experience, and challenge you with a cold. I know I have challenged myself, and I do like to challenge my body sometimes. and you did something that I didn't. That was like get used to the weather. I don't. I'm like, okay, I'm with close minutes, and I go immediately. It's like so. Yeah, and I love that all concept. It's like, and the best part is your words, Jesus. Your face expression, so soothing, so happy, so you.
Well, thank you. And oh yeah, I'm so happy that I'm so glad you bought the books, that they're in Portugal now too. That just makes my heart happy. I hope you really enjoy them. And yeah, I was happy during this whole, even during the challenges, laying face down in the snow and climbing a tree. Like, it was a fun experience. Yeah, it was cold. Yeah, it was challenging. But in here, when we were sitting here, this was towards the end of the shoot, and it was kind of warm comparatively. And I just knew that, having an opportunity to create with Lior was fantastic. So.
Oh, that's really cool. The lighting's really great. And I love that Raquel pointed out that you look so at peace that unless I had the context of you telling me that it was freezing, I'd be like, well, it just looks like it was really simple. This person's just chilling, relaxing, looks super comfortable in their body. And then you're like, no, it's freezing. I don't see that. But I mean, I believe it. It doesn't come across that way in your body. You look very much in like your position and comfortable.
Yeah, there's so much like warmth in your face, and you're just like, you're open and relaxed, and it's just like it's like you're radiating warmth, so it doesn't seem like it's cold in the image, but having the background information of that is like amazing. I think you went like above and beyond in terms of preparing for the shoot. I usually I'm with Raquel, I usually don't really prepare like weather and like temperature wise for things like that. Like I'm usually like, okay, let's know what we're doing, do it really, and then get warm. So I think it's really wonderful, and I'm glad that you brought so much of yourself to that photo shoot, and it's very evident in this image.
Thank you.
It was such a gift to be able to sort of like, be with you on the threshold through this transition into you. This was like a portal moment for you as an artist, and I felt really honored to be trusted with that vulnerability, and that, because it's like, if you do something the first time and it's not fun, are you ever going to try it again? Probably not. Right? Like the first impression, it makes a really big impact. And so to go through that level of like preparation prior is something that I really admire and super respect. And I appreciate you as a friend and an artist.
Oh, thank you, Lior.
Yeah, it's like the only place you can even see any of the cold, and it's only because I know, because I was there, but I see it in your cheeks.
Yeah.
The little pink. And I'm like,
I would know it was wintertime when this was. This could be just another, like, when I look at this picture in the background, this could be just an overcast, dreary day here in the Pacific Northwest. So
totally.
Well, actually, you can still see some of the snow if you look above my right hand on the left side of the photo. There's a level of white that is the snow actually piled up against the outside of the hoop
like
house.
ice.
Yeah.
So cool.
That reminds me, like, I love that you were able to point that out because you were there. So there have been times where I'm pointing to something in a photograph because I live in this body, and I'm like, I don't like this. And it's so not obvious to anybody without that context. And like how you just pointed that out, that was a really good reminder to me. Like sometimes I notice, or I'm like nitpicking at things that are not as obvious to other people. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. Thank you. Well, I appreciate everybody's comments. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing this with us.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. Especially having removed your anonymity completely. If there even was any left, you were like, bye. I'm ready to be visible. What's good?
I think that's really cool.
What
Anyone else do we have in the share?
So next is Danielle's. And before I press play, I'm gonna make sure that I have the like sound thing, like the I forget what they call it, but like let's see.
I think you have to share your audio. That's what does it.
Optimize for video clip, I think.
Also that, yeah.
Do that. Okay.
This is exciting.
Are you ready?
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah. So thanks for giving me a place to play with my art. This is kind of brand new, so I have no idea what people will get from it.
I love every piece of yours, Danielle, that you've submitted so far has been like the kind of thing that I'm like, we have to play it 1,000 more times. Wait, there's like so much detail and I want to like absorb all of that density.
Do you mind if I ask you follow-up questions? Because I'm so curious. Sorry.
I have no idea how to talk about it, but I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay. So what was the inspiration? Like, where did you start? How did you arrive here?
Okay. So I went self-discovery. I could do something. And I was like, I don't have anything. And then I was like, I do. I have all my stencils. So while I don't take lots of photos that are art, I have all of these stencils. And these photos were taken in 2019 so that I could figure out how to draw sacred geometry on my body. And so the sacred geometry that you see imprinted on top is scaled to my body. And I use them as stencils so that when I am developing a new piece that's going to go on me or someone else, I have the sacred geometry already done for their proportions. So I layered my stencils on top of the art that I used to mark my body when I do that. And then I have some other self-portraits in there at different times. So the ones that are tilted with the stencil are 2019, and the ones that are just my face are 2017, and were a piece where I, when Trump was elected, I was emotional about it, and I did a piece of self-portraits where I just was like, I don't know what I'm doing or how to fight any of this. So anything that's just my face is part of that piece. And I put together the I don't know what to do with myself or how to fit into this world with my other piece, which is, this is how I scaled sacred geometry to my body. This is my universe. And then I put them back and forth. And then I did them in sacred geometry shape of a pattern that might be an ecosystem. And then I just use bird sounds, which is like the free bird sounds from like the iMovie, and put them on there.
That's really cool. I'm so glad that you shared that with me. This is really cool. So what made you decide to do it in a video format?
Well, when you take them all apart and look at, because I just have too much to share. And all these photos separately. So that kind of went there. I've been experimenting with the biofeedback and how to do the breath. And now this is kind of a little bit more imposing. It's fast. It picks you up. It makes you look, and you can't get it all on the first try, which means that your brain is still thinking about it, which is more of transformative art, where I've left you where you couldn't quite get it all, but then I've also left the blanks in specific parts where they're probably different for you. So if you were to look at all these images, you would see me. But if when you flash through and you see unfinished pieces, that's left intentionally for your brain to fill in whatever you would as you perceive your own ecosystem. So if you're like the person that looks at the sacred geometry and the circles and thinks like, I am a heartbeat, I go up and I go down. Those spaces are left open so that you could be the heartbeat. But if you think I am a breath, I begin my life as I breathe in and I exhale the death and I start again. Well, those spaces are open so you could be the breath instead of the heartbeat. If you said, I am a cycle, so you could see the sacred geometry of the moon shapes in the moon cycle, which is the same as our circulatory system. And so I left those blanks so that you could decide if this was the moon cycle or your circulatory system itself. So that's how it.
That's really cool. It sounds like you've innovated a new way to create an immersive experience that is, I wouldn't say universal, but can be experienced through so many different lenses or ways of existing in the world. Like any person can see themselves within the art, and that was intentionally designed. I think this is really cool. Thank you for answering the questions.
So if you see the tree, it's an ecosystem, or you might see two eyes, or you might see the doors. And so like some of the things like the doors might be something that's typical for someone using ayahuasca. Some of the eyes and faces might be typical for someone using DMT. Some of the other symbolism is known in certain circles and might be recognized.
That's really cool.
I really love the video, and it's overwhelming with all the imagery and all the different aspects that come out, and it does leave you wanting, wait, I need to see that again. Because I missed something. I want to look at more. And so, yeah, I keep finding myself wanting to push the play button again and realizing that I can't because it's not on my screen, So, yeah, this is a really wonderful piece, and you incorporate so much information, so much symbolism, and so much to puzzle through. Thank you.
I'm with Doug. I definitely found myself. I want to play it again. I would love to play it again, maybe once or twice again, if y'all want to watch it again. But I noticed myself recognizing portals, and like that was like a repetitive thing from my perspective. So I thought that was really super awesome and interesting, because like I feel like self-discovery is kind of like a series of portals that you go through yourself, whether that's like a physical portal or like an emotional or mental or spiritual portal. That was like my perspective of it, which I thought was really amazing.
Raquel, you had your hand up.
Yeah, some already said some stuff, so it's fine. I'm actually gonna play a lot of times also to need to translate a couple words, but I actually want to question a bit, like here the relationship that you made in self-discovery and of what at least I perceived on some part of the video with death, I suppose, because it was at some part of the video and it got me really curious what the idea behind.
Yes, I do a lot of work with my shadow and death. Definitely there are aspects in here that could be interpreted as looking at, we are a cycle, therefore we do not need to fear death any more than I feel like an exhale. But the skeleton key head is an art piece that I did actually on a piece of clothing. Someone's wearing that somewhere. And I put it on top of my head. And there's a transitioning of when you're looking at it sideways, where you're seeing me, this is me, I'm somebody else. And then after I die and I join the ecosystem, that changes. And then I'm straight across from you and we could be a canopy together. And then also I have lower, so like me sitting with my hands up like this, and then me standing like this. So I'm standing across from you. And then I have two me's on either side as pillars. So we could be four in a canopy with the viewer. And so I kind of am sideways. I have so many deaths of self as I'm reborn. And then I join the ecosystem. We switch to a frontal view, and then, you know, we're together, or have invited the viewer to join me there.
Danielle, I will be watching and rewatching because, yeah, it has so much depth to it that and so many interpretation. Thank you for answering. I got part of it, but yeah,
And
rewatching.
I'm happy to any words, break them down. If you want to email me, explain it better. I appreciate the feedback as I'm continuing down the journey of trying to figure out how to produce this kind of art. I really don't know how people will react to it. So I appreciate all the feedback.
I would love to watch it again, Bunny, if you could.
I would love to watch it again too. Okay, ready?
Bunny, are you able to pause it on the very last picture, and then I can point out a couple things? Maybe that's easier.
Let's see. I'll try.
Oh, there's a death of all myself.
Here?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Okay, so so right here, you see me standing up like this, but if you see the two maybe eyes, maybe doors below me, and then on the other side of that, you'll see two me's that are like this, and that's an image that you saw earlier on that's superimposed. So the two little purple me's, and then the one like this is reaching across to the viewer to invite them into the ecosystem.
Super cool.
I'm sort of like, are you sure this is something you're just figuring out? Because I think you figured it out. Like from the transmission received. There was a moment, did everyone see where there was like that moment after death where there was the generational Danielles? Like the 1, 2, 3, 4 kind of going across and like shook me to my soul. To my soul.
Well, I mean, I've been using sacred geometry in my work and practice for 20 years, maybe not knowing it even longer. So I've been practicing this pattern for a very long time. But as far as figuring out how to make glyphs and using this kind of stuff, yes, I am just kind of figuring this out. Unless someone can suggest another artist that is already doing this, then I could go study them.
Well, I think if your goal was to pull people in and want to watch it, I think we've watched it twice, 3 times now, and we're like, wait, more, please. So by that measure of success, I think it's successful. I think you're right on what you're doing.
That's great. Does anyone like feel like they went on the self-discovery journey with me, like they saw themselves as we are all one kind of in it? I'm hoping anyway.
100%. The portals are what did it for me. I saw so many thresholds and I felt like I was very much on that journey, like as part of the ecosystem as much as any other piece of the video. Thank you so much for sharing this with us.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you for having the forum.
I feel like each time we played it, there was like even more and more that I got out of it. And I feel like I could watch this like a whole bunch of times and still like the 50th time I would still find something new to be like, oh wow, but this.
Actually,
Yeah.
Danielle, I had to see it twice because the first time, as I mentioned in the chat, I had to close my eyes and focus on the bird songs because it was very relaxing. So then I had to see it a second time so I could associate the sounds with the images. So I was glad to see it a second time.
Oh, that's great. And I was trying to pick out sounds that would like invite someone into an ecosystem and mean life, but like a lot of the little like free samples are so overwhelming. So I'm glad that the birds were relaxing.
Yeah. And this is cool. I think the context that you added in conversation really helped me understand how to process or experience what I was seeing. So I think that's super helpful.
I was doing the behind the scenes. I was like, I want to remember the moment when Danielle took us through the threshold of self-discovery.
And I just had to break into a silly grin when I saw you break out the camera.
Yeah.
I think last time someone mentioned the Grateful Dead and some of those things, and I did go back and watch some of the visuals that went along with them, and just the love movement in the 60s, and how artists who use visuals to go with music, like at raves and stuff, how they do their overlays and their patterning and their timing. So while I did have all these stencils and everything, I'm definitely using the patterns that you would find in music. And this is still less biofeedback than like if you're watching like a show and it has an intense moment and it goes to a commercial and then you're like, I must buy that thing. This is still less than that, but it definitely, I am trying to, affect your senses.
Yeah. I think that's really cool where you're pulling inspiration from and how you're utilizing or repurposing it. I think that's really cool. Bunny, what else do we have in the art share? I love this.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm on an exciting journey today.
Yes. Thank you, Danielle. So this is a submission from an artist that is not here live with us currently. So we don't have the context for the artist's perspective.
It's from Camille.
Do you know the artist?
Well, no, so to say. I do follow her, and I actually didn't know that she would send. I'm actually like, whoa, yes, this image. She's French, actually, and she has amazing self-portrait work as well. And I don't know if I can give insights in here, but I think it was kind of related through body after motherhood, because she has also a child. So I think it's in there, but I will dive in that part, because she made a beautiful text actually on her Instagram. She has that photo with the text emoji that she wrote and put on top of it. And I think over there it's more explanatory, but other than that, but she has really, really great work also on diving into depression and stuff, and pulling out through the self-portrait. Today my English is just blah, sorry. But yeah, I'm actually, I would actually love that she would appear over here, but probably couldn't. But it's great to see her work over here also.
Thank you, Raquel, for offering what you did know and giving us a place to go and check out more of their work. I'm very excited, and it's cool that like English isn't your first language, but you still attempt to connect with us through it. So it's a-okay if it's not perfect. We understand where you're coming from. Thank you for doing that.
Yeah, definitely.
Wow. I love so like the stretch marks on the chest, because even someone like me who has small breasts and have always had small breasts and weirdly as a kid was like, oh, I pray that I'm gonna have big boobs. Thank God that never happened. I have stretch marks on my boobs and it just feels like a universal relation.
I love when people accentuate stretch marks rather than like, because you might not even see them if that movement wasn't made with the body, and sort of making an artistic choice to make it visible and to emphasize that texture. I think is gorgeous. And I also love the way that the hands are folded. Like I see like a bird, like I see sort of this suckling bird happening at the curve where it connects. And there's sort of like an egg shape even happening. So it's like, I'm feeling like maiden, mother, crone, like all present in this image in that way, like sort of that multiplus generational feeling. Yeah, so cool. Doug, you had your hand up. Did you want to comment on your experience with the image?
Only to say that I went and found the image on their Instagram or her Instagram, and I could read a little bit of the caption that's below the photo, but I can't read the one that's across the photo because it's in French, and no one who speaks French would want me to destroy that. But so here's what it says: accepting what I am now, what I have become, does not mean that I resign myself to remaining that way indefinitely. The days are fleeting and the dawn uncertain, constantly reinventing yourself. So that's what's the caption underneath the photo on her Instagram. So
well, that seems to deal directly with self-discovery. I love that.
That's what I thought too. So
I love the dark shadows in this image. It feels like, aside from the tattoos and the designs that we have currently in this period, this image could have happened at any period of time.
Yeah, definitely. This is a powerful image. And just like the stretch marks, like Lior was saying, that just means so much. I mean, and without seeing the face, you can't tell the age of the person. And so the stretch marks, the way it's like that, it could imply that they are older. And so it's just a really, really powerful image. Maiden, mother, crone, definitely. All of that's possible.
I really love the choice of black and white because it, like, I imagine that maybe that like background kind of below the hand that's furthest to the right might have been kind of distracting if it was a color, but with it being black and white, the image is really focused on the body, which I think is important because obviously like that's what we want to focus on, or what I assume. And it, like the connection to self and the acceptance of the body and the like Rory said, like the dark shadows bring out the lightness in the skin too. And I just think that like the juxtaposition of like the dark and the light, the like harshness of like the black shadows, and then like the softness of the skin, I think is really beautiful.
Yeah.
Super looking forward to connecting the dots and going back and exploring this artist's Instagram and testing my Google Translate skills because I also did not take French.
Yeah.
I would be curious to know about the jewelry if the artist.
Yeah.
It looks like a skull. Am I seeing that, or is that just what I'm seeing because I'm still on the like ego death trip that Danielle had us on?
I tried to like look closer and I thought maybe it was a skull or maybe a heart, but it was really interesting that it's placed in like right directly above the heart, which heart could mean like the thing that keeps you alive with the death skull, right? Like that juxtaposition, in the same way that Bunny pointed out, the juxtaposition of like the darkness draws your eye to the lightness. Or it could be a heart right above the heart, which is interesting. I love this image a lot. What else do we have in our slideshow?
think we have 2 left.
Okay.
So the next one is
Funny, this slider at the bottom is super helpful. I just don't know how to interpret it yet. Sorry.
yeah, it's not like numbered or anything, but you can tell like we're closer to the end. So there's this one, and then there's yours, and then there's our like come to the next event, and
Okay.
yeah. And then it's over.
Lior, are you ready to share on yours? This is amazing.
Hey, yes, I have to let my friend in the door shortly. But before I do, I want to comment on this first because I was really excited to be able to show these images today. The Brave Nude was I want to say is, but I have no idea when it would resume. So it was an annual workshop that I was teaching out of Minneapolis, Minnesota. And I was doing that in partnership with Scrappy Radish, who is also known as Hillary Olsen. And she is if you see the 2 figures that are peaked on the left one, where they're sort of like touching elbow to hand, the curly haired Midwesterner, that is her. And she's one of the most important artists to me personally on my self-discovery journey, because I feel like everybody you work with influences you, right? Every single person you work with is your mentor, is your collaborator, like indefinitely. You take forward from them, a lot that informs your creative practice and your relationship and all of that. And Hillary is somebody who had done so many different kinds of art and then just jumped into modeling and photography and instantly like had this refinement to her movement and her body awareness just because she had done all of these other contact improv and dance and that kind of sort of and theater and stuff like that. And I have never done theater, but after meeting her, I realized that I missed that calling and that it's something I really would have enjoyed. And so we sort of started producing our own, like, I want to call them performances, but they were the opposite of performing. They were gathering in spaces where it's a lot like what we're doing with Going Beyond the Lens, but we were in person. So for example, in this image here are several of our practitioners. We had Taja Will, who's on the right-hand side of the right image and is sitting with the longer hair that had the bun in it. And then Sarah Whiteblack, who's in the center of the image that's on the right-hand side, who's just sort of like being caressed by the chin. And Trista Marie was also a part of this and spoke on vulnerability, which was the topic that we were working with. And Taj brought us through this gorgeous like movement and somatic experience, and we were all dancing and doing all kinds of amazing things. And then we did this photo shoot together, and then we did a talk afterward on, there was a lot surrounding, like community and vulnerability and all of those sorts of things and how we support each other. And then at the end, it was whoever felt like getting naked and doing a photo shoot together, we got to do that. And this was after having taken self-portraits together too in the same space. So we were like, even though we had come there as strangers, having never met, I had never met the people I was even teaching the event with, but they showed up and they chose to like rise to the occasion. And that was an incredible gift to me. And so when I think about self-discovery, I often think about the lineage of artists who have allowed me into the intimacy of their creative space to be my collaborator and believe in me. And especially when, some of this shit was, some of these events were like the first time we were doing it. And people still showed up. They were still like, I trust you, stranger on the internet, to pay me what you said you would pay me, to keep me safe in this environment, whatever, to have provided all of the information I needed. All of that. I just felt like such an incredible connection. And this is really what I miss the most when I think about what kind of interconnected co-evolutionary process that we're trying to facilitate when we created Going Beyond the Lens. It's really coming from this place of grief, this place of, I saw that this was possible. We made a portal and we passed through it together. Why did we have to go back? I don't want to. I don't wanna. No. And like trying to figure out how we can, continually like just push through threshold after threshold and keep each other close in that process. So yeah, that's all I have to say about this. if anybody wants to share their thoughts. I have my headphone in, but I'm going to just unlock the door.
I love in the second image, the one on the right, everyone's kind of caressed or like intertwined or really just, it feels like feeling each other, like being with each other. I love that one so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're caressing, but they're not. There's nothing sexual about it. It's all about comforting and honoring, and that's amazing.
Thank you for adding that distinction. I love that specificity, Doug. That was really good.
Yeah.
I really enjoy the power of this image, especially knowing, that not everyone knew everyone that well, and just that all these people were themselves and trusted that they could be safe in this environment. And it's just beautiful.
It is.
There's something that happens when you to call back to Danielle's, like when you become an ecosystem, when you enter a space and you allow your ego to die, and then you make the decision to become an organism that is shared. It's sort of like, we didn't cue any of these. Like, I wish I could show you the whole set, because we're so in sync, and it's so ridiculous because no one was like, okay, now let's all make a circle with our bodies and hug. Nobody said that. Yeah. It was just sort of like an organic, just by feeling our boundaries honored and being generous within what we were ready and prepared to give and receive, it created this environment where people just felt so freed by each other. And I love that, the one on the left is one of the first images and the one on the right is one of the last images. So I tried to give you a little spectrum of how that came together.
I love that you mentioned that nobody kind of directed it, because I think all of the things that led up to the moment where you said at the end everyone was doing the photo shoot was like the direction. All of that time and energy spent getting to know each other, understanding nuances and how a person moves in space or exists, and building like relationship with each other helps that last image come to life. And that's kind of the embodiment of where you, I, and Benny were talking about when we created the flow chart of how to collaborate with other people, what things need to be addressed, is like, that's all the work to get to this point here.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I love being able to see that. Thank you for
it was
sharing.
Literally 6 hours, a very intentional, like we are going through all of these processes together to get synchronized. And I love that you mentioned that is mirrored in our chart that we offered, because that's why we offered it. We were like, we want to give you access to this, and it doesn't have to take 6 hours to get here.
Well, no, I mean, like, it can or it can't, but it's like, community is possible. And this right here, this physical thing that I can see with my eyes helps me understand and recall back to, like, community is totally possible, and it can look like this.
Thank y'all. I'm super excited to have been able to share these with you.
I just wanted to add that not only do I see community, but I see home, and that's so nice right now. Quarantine's been a long time, and to be able to look at a group of people and know that that's home and it exists is really nice.
Yeah.
They're really bringing it with the nuance today. I love it. Thank you, Danielle.
Showing us what's possible again in the future.
And even though we are not together in person, I do feel like every single time that y'all continue to show up and connect with us, that we're walking each other home. Every time we're like right to that space, to that feeling of connectedness. And I super appreciate that.
Yeah, these are incredible.
It is a testament to what the three of you have built with this program. And I just really want to say that I learn a lot every time I participate. That's why I keep coming back. And not just because I love all three of you, but but I love everybody that's involved in this and the shares that we do. So.
I really appreciate that. My first instinct was to be like, nope, because it's not just us, it takes a village, and like that's what we're doing together. And so that's maybe why I'm so excited. And again, thank you, Douglas, for bringing the nuance today. Like,
Yeah.
I'm looking at these pictures, like Lior's images of community, and not also looking at like zooming at the bigger thing. It's like, that's what we do, that's what we're doing. That's just totally possible because we're making it right now, right here. So thank y'all.
Yeah. We're holding the space, but we can't do it alone. Like, community is a collective process. Like, we're holding the space, but we're all together creating it together. Like, it's not just the three of us, it's all of us here. And I really love that, Lior, you mentioned that the image on the left was taken at the beginning, because you can kind of feel the difference between the left image and the right image so much, because the one on the right, or the one on the left, is like, it feels like a few like groups or individuals together, and then the one on the right, it's like everyone is one big group, community, like ecosystem. Yeah, I love it. It's amazing.
This is so cool.
Yeah, we're creating.
Thank you so much. I think my favorite thing also about the image on the right, especially knowing that this came a year prior to all of the political unrest that we were experiencing, but we were already talking about it at that event. I mean, Taja and Sarah White-Black, we were both like, we chose those presenters for a reason, because they had something to say and something to share on that topic. And it just felt really good to be like, we didn't wait for there to be like the streets, flooded with blood before we were like, we want to do something. We were already on that path together. And I think that the fact that you can sort of see that the people of color have their eyes direct to the camera and no one else does in that right image. That's why it was the one that I chose, actually, because I was like, even though there were some other ones that were synchronized, I was like, I really love the way that they are held, and that the seat of power, who's driving this fucking bus? Sarah is.
Yeah.
Yep. She's driving it with that gaze right there.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it just sort of like felt symbolic of what we were trying to do as a group, and what is possible when we come together and we listen and we share stories. All right, I'm going to cry. Go to the next one. You're making me have feelings.
Oh, I want to be a person with people so badly, and the image embodies it. Oh, yeah. Shipsaroni. That's me. I forgot. I don't even know where to begin with it. Okay, so Nina and I have collaborated a bunch of times over the years, and we always create things that I'm like, I have a feeling, and I don't know what it looks like. Let's just make a visual thing. And we created a long time ago based off of this song. And maybe also I was watching a dumb TV show called Nip Tuck, where the whole idea was to be perfect. And I just, as a model, get so often stereotyped as like this perfect thing, and I need to exist only in this specific way on this pedestal. And I was really not feeling okay with that. Like, I wanted to exist accepted as is, without this idea or this box that I needed to keep fitting myself in to make a livelihood. And so we created this, which is this perception that people kept saying, oh, your life must be so glamorous. And like, I'm sleeping in my car and don't know if I'm going to be able to pay my bills. But, these people have this idea that I'm like on yachts, drinking champagne and like laughing all the time. So there's this perception versus reality. And we were trying to kind of like emulate Cosmo, because Cosmo to me says that it's like this woman informant magazine that's supposed to be about women sharing women ideas. And really it's just like, get in your lane. You can only do this thing and you can only exist this way. 10 tips to like know how to give your partner, which is very heteronormative, a blowjob. And it was like, okay, so I'm being told that my life as a woman would be in service to, like, this isn't really a women's empowerment magazine in any capacity. It's just to like get in your lane, live in this box. And so we were riffing off of that idea by creating this. And we sat around for like hours trying to come up with headlines that would capture like what those things looked like. So some that fell under perception, some that fell under reality. They're a little hard to read. I understand that. I can read some of them. The, like, fake it until you make it, how to pose to perfection in 6 easy steps is kind of a riff off of like how to hide all of your body flaws instead of embodying them or just accepting them. And for me, that was a part of my own modeling journey where I got made fun of when I was younger for having these thick eyebrows or for looking boyish. And I was like, what does that even mean? Like, what determines a boy versus a girl? The fact that I'm peeing off of a tree house is like, am I not in this body doing that? So why am I not being perceived this way? Why is it one way or the other way? I don't understand. So that's my long rambly what this is about.
I love the captions, and they go with the photos so very well with this. Yeah, I mean, the photo on the left is kind of that fake glamoury, you know, how people, ordinary or more ordinary people, can be seen to be flawless, and you know, you get those Instagram touch-up photos just so that they you know, that fake perfection thing that so many people try for. And then the reality pose where you're more relaxed, where you're smiling, where the flaws can be seen and accepted, and it's just, you know, the reality is, this is so much more beautiful, so much more real and powerful, and then the captions, they just go well with it all together too. So
Thanks. I think one of the things I also want to note is, like, for me, self-discovery is like, I look at this piece of art and I see it as unfinished because it puts this idea on a binary. It's like, it's either this or that. And there are varying stages between like getting dressed up and feeling embodied and wanting to look a certain way. And it's not wrong. It can be in not like this or only that. So like in the other image, in reality, I was really just highlighting, like I was wearing makeup in the first one, so I took it all off and I have acne, and you know, it shows up and it's not seen as perfect. And then I ate a whole pizza by myself because I was hungry. And so like it was the before and after of like, you know, starving yourself for a shoot and then like just living and existing as a human being. But all of that to say is that it's not either or, like somewhere in the middle is more comfortable. And so as an adult looking at these, I'm like, oh, you know, I did this and that's great, but this isn't the end for me. And so that's the self-discovery part that I'm taking away.
that's awesome. Yeah.
I was just looking at these and I look at perception and I think this is what capitalism wants you, the way capitalism wants you to think. You know, it's like 10 talking points to make you appear smarter than you are, just so you can lie your way into, you know, renting yourself to make somebody else rich and all that, you know. And that's what capitalism wants. In reality, is say, well, that's where you say, fuck you to capitalism. Like, your hemline does not define you. That really hit me hard because I think about, you know, body image, and this society is extremely fat phobic. Probably it's off the spectrum fat phobic. And so that I had all those thoughts going through me, especially pretty doesn't pay bills. All of this just comes at me, you know, as a really scathing critique of capitalism. So I love it.
Thank you so much for commenting on that, Brian, and also mentioning the fact that to go a step further, not only is our society fat phobic, I actually feel that we're like anorexic centered. Like I remember reading calorie restrictions in that exact magazine as a high schooler and being like, this isn't adding up. And it never adds up. It's like very much disingenuous. And the other lie that I feel is like super, super important that you've illuminated for us, Roarie, with this piece is the what can beauty buy? Get everything you ever wanted by using your looks alone in 8 easy steps. That is what we are sold if you're socialized as female. Even if you're not, even if you're a boy, you're not allowed to be pretty, but they're like, oh, handsomeness will buy you everything. And the reality is that prettiness is an intensifier. All it does is get more eyes on you. It does not guarantee that the eyes on you will treat you well or that you will receive a positive reaction from them. In fact, I have found that I am equally as likely to be reacted to harshly just by different people, depending on if I am, like following those rules and passing in a femme way where people aren't like upset. But you know what? I get left alone when I don't try to pass. So that's what I think is an interesting division, is it's like you sort of like, there are these lies at play that make us feel like our visual or our appearance is sort of like going to change everything about our lives. And the truth is, capitalism is going to be there. It doesn't matter. Right, Brian? It don't matter. It doesn't matter if you're hot or if you're ugly. Capitalism still hates you and will convince you to hate yourself and try to change yourself. It doesn't matter how your body ended up or how it was. I mean, I get tortured all the time for being too skinny.
Yeah.
My gosh.
Like, you can't win. I'm like, are you kidding me? Actually, I really admire curvy bodies, and I think that fat is gorgeous. Like, I love bellies, and in every nude yoga class I do a small ode to the belly. No yoga class goes by where I'm not like, okay, can we love it though? Let it out. Let it. I know you're sucking it in. Let it out right now.
Yeah.
Do it.
I also wanted to add one more thing. I was just having a conversation last month with a dear friend who's a yoga instructor, and we were talking about fat phobia. And she told me, I mean, this was a very chilling thing. She would tell me when she was a high school student, she'd go into the restroom, and then there were other women in the stalls that she would catch them purging, in the act of purging. And it's like, my God, we have a very serious problem here. We don't hear about it. And it's like, yeah, capitalism still hates you. Yeah, you're destroying your body to look a certain way. But at the same time, you're going to get kicked in the face. You're going to get used up and thrown aside like an empty beer can. And it really was just chilling, because I knew it was a problem. But just to hear someone's lived experience about it just caused my blood to run cold.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. I mean, we wouldn't have gotten this piece of art, right, without Roarie's personal experience and working with Nina to craft a narrative that reflects their lived experience. So, yeah.
Danielle, you were going to say something?
Oh, I just wanted to add so many wonderful things in it said about our society, but this is really a doorway for me between the two images, where I see you going from being a thing, a product, and letting that dictate who you are, and moving into being your own person, and going forward from there.
I love that. I read this book. It's called Survival of the Prettiest, and it talks about something that I experienced as a model, this double-edged sword of, like, when you're pretty, you're objectified, you're still not seen as a person. So even if you achieve the top of the pyramid of like success and capitalistic structure, so by all means, like, I'm white, thin, and pretty, and I have access to this privilege that puts me at the top, and I made a livelihood off of those attributes, I still wasn't accepted or seen in human nature. And so in this book, it talks about like the double-edged sword of being pretty, but at the same time, the access to privilege is nowhere close to, like, what you suffer in the double-edged sword of being pretty is nowhere close to the amount of suffering for people who don't fit under the construct of socially deemed pretty. And so that really revolutionized my thinking as far as, wow, like, this little bit of things that I have to complain about and the experience that I have is nothing in comparison to people who don't have access to that at all. This whole system's fucked. Fuck that. And so that's, again, that place of like, fuck this. This isn't working for anybody, like, came from, because this is the thing that I can speak on. And it gave me a springboard to have conversations with people following after creating this.
Yeah. And I think the perception image creates expectations of prettiness and of attempt to stay pretty, and that you will gain things for other people, not just for yourself. And that's more talking about capitalism thing that Brian was definitely talking about.
I just loved what you said, Rory, and that it's so hard when you're in the middle And you're like, I have all this privilege because I seem like I'm really close to this pyramid that they talk about being on. And I see so many people getting stuck there, hanging on to what little they have. And they're like, well, I can't go and be myself because I'm already trying so hard and no one's accepting me. So what would happen if I was myself? And then they just sit there forever. And a lot of why we have the world we have today is because people are so scared of being themselves that they hang on to what little privilege they have without considering what it costs. And so like, this piece is just really speaks to today and what we're going through.
That was gorgeously said. And I just want to mention, that's literally why I chose to cut my hair. It's not that I didn't think it was beautiful. It's not that I didn't love it. It's not that it was heavy. It's not that I was trying to whatever. It was just like, I realized that if I am trying to do this and I'm trying to get to that place, right? Like that place where we can just be ourselves, and I'm trying to ask other people to do that too. But I still recognize I'm wearing my baby blanket on me. And I'm not saying hair is that for everybody, but for me it was. And Raquel, in your image where you were like, yeah, I just shaved my head, like that's a fresh shave. And I saw the power in that sort of like separating and coming forward and just asking to be met in reality. I love how we just went full circle.
Yes.
Yeah.
Also,
love.
you look so much happier in the reality image. Like you look fake happy in the perception one. You look actually like, I'm comfortable and happy here in the reality one. I think that's important too.
Thank you. I think it's really cool that, Nina and I brainstormed over this for a really long time. And I want to give context to Nina because on her own, she's a great artist. She's in her mid 40s and is doing fine art modeling and has constantly challenged the idea that you can only be this amount old before you're no longer valuable. And so this person I felt trusted with bringing this idea to, and any idea I've ever brought to her, she's like, sure, Rory, how do we do this? And like thinking about these things intentionally, like I was like, okay, I need to look a particular way in this image, and like let's look at old glamour magazines and what does that look like, and really embody that. She really brought her knowledge as a photographer to this. And what you noticed, Bunny, that like kind of half but like fake smile, or I'm just kind of like, well, okay, I'm here, versus like me laughing at something that Nina said, like I cackle, like that's just my laugh, I cackle, like it's the whole body, head thrown back kind of thing. And this feels very real, the laughing on the reality side. It's like you're noticing these nuances, and I love that. All right, I feel like that's all we have for this week. I'm like super stoked that we did this whole circle journey of just like self-discovery.
Yeah,
I can't wait to see the conversation.
me too. I'm so excited.
By the way, I have one more thing I wanted to share. You talk about self-discovery. I came across this article. Here, I'll put the link in. How many of you are familiar with Quentin Crisp? Have you ever heard of Quentin Crisp?
No.
The naked civil servant? Well, this very well-known person, very flamboyant, they passed away at the age of 90, I think. And they wrote their autobiography. They dropped it in 3 parts over the years. Like the first one was in 1968, and the last one was called The Last Word, which released in 2017. And in it, they came out as non-binary without saying they were non-binary, saying, hey, I'm transsexual. I don't identify as a male, but I don't exactly identify as a woman either. And so that was a fantastic thing. And if you do a little research, read Wikipedia about who Quentin Crisp was and try to see the naked civil servant, I think you'd really enjoy it. And particularly this one. I was just thinking about self-discovery, and then I saw this article about this came out posthumously. So like he passed away at the age of 90, and right when he was turning 90, he said, hey, I'm on the trans spectrum. And I thought that was I love the brutal honesty, because there was a lot of reflectivity, and it was really just mind-blowing. So I encourage you to all read it.
Thank you. Always bringing the resources, Brian. You're A+. Thank you.
Oh, could I have one more resource if you don't mind?
Well, what's up?
well, I got permission. Since we're at the end of the show, I have an opportunity for you. The Seattle Erotic Art Festival is coming up here, and if you have some art you want to share, the art share is going on, and it's going to be at the end of October, but I have to caution everybody, it's like a moving target because of COVID. We don't know what conditions will be like, if it's going to be virtual again this year. But if you want to submit some art, even if it's not going to be in person, this is a great opportunity. And here's their Instagram too.
Thank you so much. We still have that link from the last time that you shared it with us, so we can totally include that too. This article is so amazing. I didn't even start reading it yet. I was just looking at the images, but I love the quote that at the age of 90, it has been finally explained to me that I am not really homosexual. I'm transgender. I now accept that. All my life, I have wanted to be part of society without having to alter my daydream, my own reality. And I just love that, because that's really it, right? Like, I just wanted to be a part of society without having to alter the way that I like to live, like my fantasy, the way I see the world. Like, I could cry. Oh, such a good find. Thank you so much, Brian. I'm going to dig into this right away.
I'm glad I found something meaningful. Oh yeah. So getting back to it, the parent company or the sponsor of this group of the art show is called the Pan Arrows Foundation. Trying to find their link because I always mess it up, but oh well. I've been volunteering for them for many years, and I think this is the website for them. I don't know. I can't find it. So
well, we will try to look into that. I'm all about. I love. This sounds like erotic volunteering. I'm here for it.
There's nothing really erotic about putting up the spaces for people to, like putting up the walls and stuff. And I can't do that.
I mean,
anymore.
If I can be myself while I put up the walls, that to me is an erotic time. Anytime that I'm like living truthfully, vibrantly, and I'm existing like full force, like, wow, I'm existing. I'm real. Mm-hmm. I'm like, that's highly erotic.
Yeah, except as I'm getting a little older now, I have an arthritic knee. I can't really do the construction anymore. So it's like, can you find a place for an old cis het white guy that can't stand on his own 2 feet for very long?
I would like to help.
Yes.
I can help. I love that.
Yes. I think you're helping right now because you're spreading the word, which is advocating for something you passionately believe in. And like, that's within your capabilities. We're here for it.
Yes, and I want to say, I got to get going here, but I want to say, Lior, I love the haircut. I just love it. And let's say when I first saw it, I was experiencing what's called vasovagal syncope. In layman's terms, I almost swooned and fainted.
I love the little nerdy, little way that you described that. That was so sweet and cute, and I love it.
Oh, jeez.
I cherish you all. It has been such a pleasure to spend time together. Thank you all so much for coming and submitting your art and sharing your resources and your passions and your authentic selves and your self-discovery journey. And you're all amazing. Yeah, it's just...
And I'm also glad you split this up between an art show and a discussion, because I can remember when we first started, we just go on, and my back would start to hurt. But now that you're making it up, you give us some time to process the art, and then we move to the next step. So
more time for all of it. I put the link to the conversation event in the chat. We would love to see you next week on the 25th. For the conversation about self-discovery. So excited to join you.
I'm going to be talking about y'all's art. We're definitely going to have to mention it.
Arthur is speaking, and I am like beyond pumped to listen and toggle.
Yes. So ready. So excited. Love having Arthur as a guest speaker.
I'll be buying a ticket for the event just because I want to donate. Make sure this continues to happen, but I'm not going to be there.
We appreciate you, Doug.
So much. Go get the recording.
Yeah.
We'll send some love to the future self that will be watching it.
That's right.
All right, y'all, I really got to pee, so I'm going to run. It has been a pleasure. I love belonging to y'all. I love that y'all are the home that we're creating together, and I hope that you have an amazingly nourishing rest of your day.
Bye-bye.
Love you all. Thank you for